Hurry up. Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have Dalt and Frank on, and if you've been listening to the trend of the last couple of podcasts that I've done, a lot is around behavior change, because something that people miss when starting any journey is the stuff that's kind of like the super glue to everything, because it doesn't matter the results you get if you can't keep them. And it doesn't matter how fast or how great you do or what you accomplish if it's not something that can last. And people don't even think about that. It's almost like when people are smoking, it's like, oh, it never will happen to me. Or when people do dramatic things to get to comp prep, which I was one of those people, you don't think about the consequences until later on, which is what I had to face and which is what so many other people face, except now they're facing it with even more of a lack of belief in themselves, less motivation, less willpower, less effort percentages into everything. So I'm going to introduce Dalton to this conversation and let him talk a little bit more about himself. But first, I just want to introduce this with the concept of, okay, so he comes to me, he's on holidays, he got a little chubby while he's away, he ate a little bit too much, didn't move that much, and my advice to him is, it's easy, you just need to exercise more, and we need to put you onto a diet that has you eating less. And so he continues on with that, and he gets results. And he starts seeing his body fat go down. He starts seeing his body change until he doesn't. And then he realizes, hey, I'm on holiday still. It's my anniversary with my missus. And he enjoys that weekend, but then no motivation to start again on Monday because he got a taste of bliss. So I'm going to let you introduce this yourself with that concept, and why, kind of like the post I shared with you, your first month working with a coach shouldn't be about how much weight you lose or any of that other stuff. What should it be about?
Yeah, right. Thanks for having me, Ruby. It's so lovely for you to invite me here, and hi, everyone. So for those that don't know me, I've been in the industry for about, just 10 years. It's 10 years coming up next month. So I've been doing this for a while. I started off in personal training out of some gyms, and then realized that more money is made online and more spots, more availability. I didn't have to do that stupid split shift that every PT kind of goes through. And so I swapped to online in 2014. Yeah, 1 year into my career, 2014. And so I've been online ever since then, which meant, I was really in a good spot for COVID and all the things that have changed, all the technology and stuff that's changed. And when I did start out, I was a really shitty coach. I was really, really bad. We even did some work together, Ruby, and I can't remember the stuff that we did way back when we were talking about it, but I'm pretty sure it was bad advice. So I was a typical, just give someone a diet plan, give someone a training program, and have them do it. If they aren't consistent, it's their fault. And how can we improve their consistency and stuff like that? And I was like, you know what? It's probably, not helping people when some clients would get results and some wouldn't. So I was like, maybe it took years, but maybe it's me that needed to change. And so I started trying to figure out how to help get my clients results for those that were really struggling with it. And the ones that, when I analyzed it, it was like, the ones that come really highly goal orientated would really be successful. And those that weren't that way or had been that way previously, but kind of burnt out, could never kind of get back there. And I was always struggling to understand why it was so hard once they broke that consistency chain, or once they dropped in their adherence for things, it would take forever for them to get back into that. And how could we facilitate a way to make that really fast so that they could just reconnect and start getting back to their results, quickly? Because that story that you just mentioned is so typical of so many experiences that we've had with so many clients. People will do things, get put on a diet, put on a training program, or even be on holiday, and get put on a diet, put on a training program, and have to go through forced experiences for them to really get results, and wonder why it isn't sustainable, why it doesn't last too long, and eventually why they give up. And so that is, such a typical conversation that we've had with so many people. And how I would start it and what I do it could even be longer than a month for some of my clients. It really depends on what they actually need. But we strip everything back to basic needs of psychological flexibility, and we start looking at things from that lens and what habit formation stuff we can do and what stages of change. And I introduce a whole bunch of self-reflections along the way so that they can start examining and thinking for themselves on what they want for themselves, as opposed to what someone's told them or what I've told them to do, to give their own version of what that looks like. And then we can start introducing those things. And so I'll pull it back just so that we, like, for those that are listening, anyone that heard me just say psychological flexibility there might be like, what the hell is this concept? And basically, it's the similar idea of what we do with food and what we do with training, is that over time, you want the ability to pick and choose what amount of approach you do with something, with food or training, that you do on that particular occasion, right? So some days some weeks you might want to follow a meal plan. Some days you might want to just macro your food through. And some days you might just want to gauge food by portion guides. Some days you might just want to eyeball food. Some days you just don't give a fuck. And the whole point of that is, like, that's the flexibility, is that you can pick and choose depending on what type of goal.
Wait.
Sorry?
I don't know what just happened. One sec. For some odd reason, the speaker just changed. Just so you guys also are aware, Dalton is in Europe, so his very faulty, which you might be able to tell. But
yeah, do you want me to swap over? I think I can swap over to 5G off like a personal hotspot and see if that works. Now. I can swap over to a 5G network and see if that makes it any better.
Yeah, it might, because you keep cutting in and out.
Oh, do I? Really?
Yeah.
I just run a test on it before, and it was saying that there was no dropouts. That's so frustrating. Yeah, all right.
So he's just changing his network over, so he will be back in a second. Okay, let's go.
Fingers crossed it doesn't drop out. I'm so sorry about that. Where was I? Psychological flexibility. So where did I drop out at? All right. So yeah, psychological flexibility is basically a similar concept to nutrition and training flexibility, where you can address things depending on what's in front of you. And so if you are in a situation with friends and family around you, then you can approach that situation with a different approach than if you were to do something, say, at the gym with yourself, or if you were just, at home, or if you're at work. All of these different areas of our life require a different level of psychological approaches that we give to ourselves and levels that we attack that with. So the idea is to look at those, figure out what they look like, and then determine what that level of criteria success looks like for them, and use that to guide, test it, and adjust it along the way. And essentially you get to this point where most of us are intuitively doing this, but we think we do it well. The way that we tumble or fumble is because when we do this intuitively, we beat ourselves up mentally for when we aren't successful in a situation. So it can kind of set ourselves back, and it makes us less willing to want to try in the situation again later on. And so if you're not successful, if you don't understand how to become congruent or give yourself clarity for what you want that situation to look like, that intuitive experience really becomes quite negative. So I do a heap of work around that as well to overcome that.
So a lot of the people listening to this don't really have the level of intellect as well, like they're very smart people, but not smart, like not in the sense of the psychological realm. They're more in the sense of wanting to change their body. So a lot of this are foreign concepts.
It's going to be new.
It's not something.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not something that they would have thought of in the past, especially in the level that you're speaking of it, which is something that I want everyone to just realize we're just pretty much summing it up here in like throughout this conversation. We're gonna break it down into identity shifting, into motivation, behavior change. But along with this is people realizing that starting when you're not ready or when you're really busy or when things are chaotic is probably one of the best times to start, because you're learning how to go while waves are choppy. And then once things get calmer, it'll be so much easier for you to then sail the ship. And I guess with a lot of what you said and the fact that this is something that a lot of people aren't first aware of, because they just have this end goal in mind. All they know is that they want to get to X. They want to lose the fat. They want to feel more confident in their skin. They want to see this number on the scales. They're tied to a body fat percentage. I guess bringing to light awareness and acceptance as the two biggest components in even initiating change, and initiating change in a way that's in a permanent direction.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry for anyone that has been listening to this. I was planning on starting to script this back into kind of a layman kind of topic and idea for this. I wanted to kind of set the tone, at least for anyone that was listening, to go, right, this is, at least if I type this stuff into Google, this is what I need to type in, and just give some direction you guys think about here on this podcast. But essentially, I totally agree. Ruby is starting in a time of hecticness within someone's life is much smarter decision to be able to adhere to behavior changes over time, because we recognize what they can actually do in times of chaos. Most people set their lives up in times everything was like so perfect, easy. I could just wake up and float on the ground and go to the gym and eat the best food and just enjoy my life all the time. And how, this is what my life would look like and how I can sustain all these behaviors in time. But that's so few and infrequent. We are bloody chaotic, absolutely chaotic all the time. We have so much work. We have so many requirements of us. We have so many things that we say yes, whether it's ourselves, our training, our family, friends. And so because of that, our life is absolutely chaotic. We set ourselves up with goals we have, because that will show up for us even perfect days, but at least we know the maximum amount we can do chaotic environment looks like. It makes it so much more sustainable and achievable than saying, right, I can do all of these things. I can do 100 things on my perfect days. Of course, everyone can do 100. Chaos, and gets to the point where the brain goes, fuck this. How do I get away from this? Stop it. I want some dopamine. Give me some food. Give me some drinks. Let me go out and party. Let me go and blow off some steam or whatever. And stuff that I'll start again Monday, or I'll start again next month, or I'll start again next year, or whatever kind of category that we put it into a box.
There was an analogy that I heard. There was a lot in there that was cutting in and out, which is annoying. But
sorry.
It's okay. It's very. I'm sorry for everyone listening to this. It is. I'm hoping that you guys can still get the gem from what Dalton was saying.
Well,
because
if not, we can always do this again. Another, I've got so many more blocks now, so many more availabilities. Yeah, because that's so frustrating.
We'll be able to. We'll probably schedule in another one, so we'll make this one pretty short as a teaser, as cool. One on the intro, and then I can schedule it for later when I get Dalton back on again.
Yeah,
so
cool.
you're listening to the pre-teaser. Yeah, this is the getting you a little bit damp before we put you into the deep end with everything. But there's a very important part there that Dalton said, because there was this analogy where it's just it's almost like when you're trying to build a house, you have a wheelbarrow and the weather is very chaotic. It's like when there's good weather and you want to start transferring bricks, you can transfer 10 at a time, exhaust yourself because of the heavy load you need to carry, and then decide to take a break for a while. But then the rain happens, the weather happens, it starts to erode at what you've already built. And by the time you feel like you're up to it again and the weather's good, so that everything perfectly aligns, you're going to have to keep starting from scratch each time, instead of just taking 1 or 2 bricks at a time to then start laying the bricks. And there's a concept that I'll let Dalton touch on for this little pre-teaser as well, and that's in order to sustain change and in order to be able to chase what you're truly capable of, there needs to be a level of confidence, a level of belief, and a level of competence within yourself, which is very hard to do if the very things that you're giving yourself are at a level you are not at yet. So let's sum up this little part with that.
Yeah, right. So that's a really good point, is that the way that we view actions and behaviors that we're trying to do and how we keep ourselves motivated through things is like, there's three things that really facilitate that. And competence is one of them, relatedness is one of them, and autonomy is one of them. And so I'll break them down into really super simple, like easy to understand concepts here. So when someone makes you do something a particular way, you lose that autonomy. You lose the ability to pick and choose what you want that to look like, right? So if you go to a new PT or a new coach or something, and they give you a gym program that doesn't work with your lifestyle, but also your personal preferences, you lose your autonomy. You lose the ability for you to want to do that program. And so you go into it with a lower level of motivation to want to participate in that program. It takes away your enjoyment from it. So you get less out of it. So that's autonomy. Competence is another one. So you need to feel able to do the thing. If someone sets a task too hard for you or too easy, we lose interest. So it has to be this Goldilocks idea, like this idea that it has to be just right. You want to find something that's challenging enough that it makes you reach for it, but not so challenging that you never be able to like grasp it. And so it's trying to find a nice balance in between those. And relatedness is the last one. And this is the thing that brings us together with people. Even if we're a pure introvert, we still have some need for relatedness around us. And so this is kind of a scale of how much that would look like for you and your personal identity. But the idea is that we need to be able to relate to the people around us in a way that they can see value from what we're doing, and we can see value from what they're doing. So there has to be kind of like that exchange back and forth. And so if you can think about those three things, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, or I think of it as like friends and family, how good I am at something, and my ability to pick and choose how I want that to work. If I can make everything work in that direction, or if I can get them to be fulfilled, then it feels easy, right? I don't go to the gym to train because it makes me, feel fit and healthy or whatever. I go to the gym because it's a place where I can pick and choose where and how I train and what I want that to look like. And that's fun for me. That makes me enjoy the whole process. And so if some people don't like that, if some people want a structure or a list or whatever for them, then you can give them that, but you find a level of, autonomy that they need. They might not like the priority of particular exercises. They might want to be able to pick and choose or whatever. And so you have to try and meet them where that is. And that's a little bit of a, back and forth conversation. Those are the three things. So whenever you feel your motivation dwindling, one of those three things is being, or more, is being impacted on, and we want to figure out why.
I'm actually going to be really excited to talk on the relatedness part of it, because there's a lot of people that undermine the true value of community, the true value of having that support team there, which is why I love my Team Ruby Inner Circle. And I guess that's also why you love your little community as well, because we tend to have people around us that aren't on the same journey as us. We might have friends that don't pick the healthiest food, that might influence us into poor choices, that like there are so many things within our current physical environment that aren't serving us, that by immersing ourselves into an online community that is strong enough to build those bonds, even mentally, that can be enough to help sustain us in the initial stages of change, if you actually lean into it. But then this is bringing as well, because we might redo this part as well, but it's when you can let go of the fear of judgment, like, because there's a lot of people that won't immerse themselves in that online community because they don't have the confidence to, but it's like, that is why it is that small circle. Like, I have my small team in a Ruby versus everyone on the social internet, your little how to stop dieting community there versus the whole online society there. It's like, these people are here because they are on the same journey as you. They are going through the same struggle as you. So
Yeah.
with that, this is the little end of the little part of first one. So I don't know what that is, but you'll hear us in part 2.